Greetings, YouTube. This is going to be another one of those personal videos. So if you're not into that, I fully understand. Recently, I insulted someone. It wasn't my intention to insult this person. It was inadvertent. In the moment that it happened, I was experiencing a high degree of anxiety. I was essentially on the edge of a panic attack. Um, and I was looking for some kind of explanation for about why I was in the situation I was in. And I accused somebody of doing something which was absurd in hindsight. But I did it, and it was insulting to them. And I apologized to them. And they were rightfully upset. And I am very appreciative of the fact that they're a person that is capable of being very articulate and expressing themselves. They are capable of using their words, which I feel very helpful, because lots of folks aren't. And then I listened to everything they had to say. I validated everything they had to say. They did not, in fact, go off the deep end. They were very correct. I had stepped over a line. I had insulted them. I had not meant to insult them. I did sincerely apologize. And of course, the proof in the pudding is that I have to make sure that I don't ever do something like that again, which is sometimes hard for me because memory is not one of my best skills. That's related to my executive dysfunction problems, with my autism, with trying in my mental illness, and they all conflict, and it makes sometimes hard for me to remember things. That's why I write down copious notes of stuff. I have send myself emails. I have 3x5 note cards in my pocket. There are things written on my fridge. I am writing notes constantly because I'm trying to remember stuff. And the reality is that listening to someone tell me this was hard. I'm human. And at the end of the conversation, I said, I'm about to say something that you're probably going to think is really weird. I said, you're a better person than I am. And I was in tears when I said it because it hurt like hell, but it was also the truth. Later, I had an opportunity to talk to my wife about the situation at hand. And use your words with your spouse too. And I explained the situation. I explained my mental state of mind at the moment and while I was talking to her and how tired I am of having my mental illness and my neurodivergence hijack my life. I didn't choose to be in an anxious state in that moment. I didn't choose to be on the edge of a panic attack. And this person actually gave me some very good advice about how to stepping back in the situation. And it's correct. Stepping back in that moment prior to doing the thing that was insulting would have been the best course of action. But anyone who has anxiety or has ever suffered a panic attack can tell you there is no stepping back. You, there's no, in that moment, you're not on your own. You can't do it. If there is someone else there who knows your mental state of mind and knows what you are quite possibly going through in that moment, they can externally help you. It's not their job. You were there. No one is obligated to assist you in that manner. But doing it internally is really hard. My anxiety levels today are far lower than they used to be, but that doesn't change the fact that I still suffer from GAD, general anxiety disorder, and I still find myself at times caught in its grips. And it just derails my life, and I'm tired of it. And it's completely justified for me to be tired of it. I've been dealing with it for 59 years. And having diagnosis, getting on antidepressants, getting the diagnosis for autism and executive dysfunction. All of those are very important things, and all of those have been very explanatory. None of them are excuses. I told the person that. I said, this is not an excuse. I'm not making an excuse here, but I suffer from anxiety. Okay? And that's where I was in that moment. It doesn't excuse my actions. And I don't ever want anyone to think that you can use your mental illness as an excuse, because you shouldn't. Just because you suffer doesn't mean you get to make other people suffer because of it. Spreading the suffering is not the answer, but controlling your suffering sometimes is hard. Controlling what the suffering can do to you, how you're suffering, how your mental framework, your literal mental architecture of your mind, your brain, can derail your life. You may you may want to go here, but you may have many things that keep you from getting there. You may eventually end up in that location where you want to be, but you're going to take a very circuitous route at best. And I have done diagnoses. I have diagnostically broken down as an exercise in my head how I got from point A to point B in a a logistic chain. How did I get from where I started thinking about something and how did I end up here? And sometimes it is an amazingly crazy, twisted path that most people could never, ever make the connections of. And yet, there I am, and I did it. And of course, the next time I find myself in a situation, same similar situation, I may forge an entirely new path. Now, people who don't have mental illness and people who are autistic will say, well, why don't you just keep doing this? And if I could keep doing that, I wouldn't be mentally ill or autistic. Now, it is easier if you get support, like medication, therapy, supportive spouse, friends, family, things like that. Um, because you can get external cues. The antidepressants can help you get, regulations internally. So all of these things that help you. And as you burn new synaptic paths, it gets easier sometimes, but not always. That's one of the reasons why people who have never really experienced depression, if they do suddenly find depression from like an external source, tragedy, house burning down, they were attacked, a loved one dies, it is very important to get them on antidepressants quickly, because if you begin to burn those synaptic paths in your brain from depression, it gets harder to change them the longer they exist. As someone who has synaptic paths the width of 12-lane highways, I can tell you, getting them to be smaller or getting to change direction from them is not easy. But if you can begin to process them and find yourself new synaptic routes, it can help. For example, I was immediately able to see what I had done was wrong. I was immediately able to apologize. In the past, I would have had to have dwelled on that for days, weeks, months before my brain had let me process what had happened. Of course, by then, it's too damn late to apologize. But say the words anyway, if for no other reason than it'll help you understand where you were and where you are, and maybe next time the route will be a little shorter. Because if you can turn it from weeks to months to days to a week, or from days to hours, or from hours to minutes, the faster you can heal that, the faster you can make amends, the faster you can show that you are sincerely sorry, the better off your relationships will be, and the better off you will be, because you're not burning those negative synaptic pathways. You're not ruminating over and over and over again, as some of us do. I can run a simple 10-second conversation I'm going to have someone with through my brain 100 times before I have it, of the most unbelievably inconsequential topics. And yet, I can spin an entire video where I didn't script anything, because this video is an example. I came into this video, I wanted to tell the story of how I insulted someone. I wanted to show people that it is possible to deal with it in that moment and how to do the best you can. And I described my plan of action, which is to do everything in my power to not repeat the process. Because if you apologize, and you do it again, it wasn't a goddamn apology. And the fact that I can do this, that I can spin this, partly is because of therapy and medication and and hard work on my part. And sadly, part of it is because I was raised by an abused alcoholic while being mentally ill and autistic. Because I had to learn how to think on my feet. Because if I didn't figure out how this mass of chaotic energy in front of me, as known as my father, wanted me to respond, at best I would get called stupid. And I got called stupid every single day of my life for 14 years. And at worst, I'd get hit. So it's terrifying that the skills I am demonstrating and my ability to weave a story, a narrative, to talk about something were earned at the end of an angry hand. But also some of them were earned because I worked really goddamn hard. All of this may be a mask I wear, but I've been putting it together for almost 6 decades, and I'm really good at it. And one of the things that I'm still sad of is I don't actually know who I would still be without the mask. I don't know what my voice is. It's gone. It was wiped out by my parents. And I've been doing YouTube long enough that the voice you are currently hearing is the voice in my head. Most of us, when we're young, don't think our voices sound like us when we hear them on a phone or a recording or a video or something. But I've been doing this for 15 years. That voice that you're hearing has replaced that voice in here. So I hear myself speaking in my head exactly the same way I hear myself speaking on this video, which is a slightly strange revelation when I realized I was experiencing that. But it's a demonstration that we're plastic and that we can learn and we can change within the parameters that we're working with. I can never, ever stop the fact that I have anxiety. I will never stop the fact that I'm autistic or I have executive dysfunction problems. Those things, I can never, ever change them. I can't change that injustice is a button in my head that makes me get enraged in a second. But I can do something with it after it happens. I can try to do the best I can with what I've got. And I don't think anybody can ask anybody else to do better. Thank you for listening to me ramble. I appreciate it. Have a good day.